Hello, I'm Jen. Welcome to Be Set Free. How are you doing today? I wanted to share with you today something that's on my heart a lot, often, almost every day. And that has to do with children, our children. If you're a parent and you have children at home, they are being affected by the abuse in your home. Not only are you being affected greatly, our children are too. And I know when I was going through it, I didn't realize that at all. I figured that I was sheltering them from the abuse. But I've come to find out that they're living with it too. They are affected by it too, and in many of the same ways. So when we go through abuse, we end up with a syndrome called CPTSD. It's PTSD, but it's not from just one incident. PTSD is generally from a traumatic incident that happens. CPTSD is called complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And that has to do with things that happen over a long period of time, ongoing traumatic series of events. And a lot of us that were neglected or abused in childhood have had it our whole life and we don't even know. Well, guess what? We have kids and they're going through this, okay? And it was a shock for me. It's really hard to even say the words to you that my kids suffered CPTSD. And that's just not from a mama recognizing their symptoms finally. That was actually from a doctor, a psychological doctor at a trauma clinic that I got them to after the last incident that happened a year ago. And they diagnosed all three of my children with CPTSD. And I was there for the whole process. I know that I have it too. I'm 90% healed now. And so are they. They're on a great healing journey. And it was a shock to realize that they had this too. And I want you to know that it's not only you suffering in the abuse, it's them too. And we really need to, as moms and dads, we need to start thinking about our children. I know that what I was doing is I was recognizing my kids and their behavior issues, but I was chalking it up in my mind as to developmental stages. You know, I was chalking up in my mind. I have girls that were at home with me at the time when this happened, during this relationship. And I was just thinking, oh, they're just being girls. Oh, they're just getting their hormones. Oh, they're just being siblings. They're fighting. That's what they do. Oh, they're just being defiant because this is the stage they're in. And I was shocked when I heard the description of CPTSD from the DSM, all the characteristics of it, to realize what I was seeing was my children suffering exactly mentally, pretty much how I was suffering, okay? The brain fog, the underlying fear, nightmares, acting out. You just think that's a typical kid thing? Of course, some of it is. But with kids that are in abusive situations, it's because of that. What else? If you look up CPTSD symptoms, Google it. I'm going to have you Google it rather than read it to you. I want you to Google it because I want you to take some accountability. Not only are you watching this video, which is awesome, but then I want you to take it further because that's really going to cement and make it real to you in your mind, and have you start to take charge of this, okay? Sometimes it's hard if we're kind of spoon-fed information, then we may later just not even go further with it. We'll just keep it in our mind, but we won't go further with it. But if we start to research information on our own, like I give you this topic, go research CPTSD in children, or what are the characteristics of CPTSD. If you do that, that's going to lead to another research, to another research, to another research, okay? So I want you to do that. Now, the thing is with children, like I said, children are affected by abuse in the home. And yes, it's true. They don't know any other way. Okay, they haven't lived a different life. Just like you when you were little, maybe you could tell that something was wrong, but you don't know, and maybe you still don't know what it's like to have a normal home, a normal relationship. Well, neither do your kids. So then we think, oh, well, they're not suffering, they'll be fine. But no, this is all detrimental stuff, okay? The longer you stay with an abuser, the more damage is happening to your brain and to your life. Well, it's the same with the children, okay? We need to pull them out of the abuse as soon as possible. And if you can't do it for yourself, like maybe you just don't feel strong enough to do it for yourself, or you have deep convictions because you're a Christian and you're married and you're a Christian, and you've been taught you can't leave your husband or your wife. That's nonsense, okay? Abuse is danger. Abuse is danger. And especially with narcissism, the partner is cheating. Right there, you have your ticket out. It doesn't matter if you caught them or not. It's happening. And I got hung up on that too. And that, I need to see the abuse so I know for sure biblically I can leave. I need to see the cheating. I see the abuse. Well, it took a while to see that too. But I was like hanging up on that Bible verse, if your spouse has committed adultery, you can leave. And I was just waiting for the proof and waiting for the proof. But I knew in my heart it was happening, right? And now that I've studied narcissistic abuse, they all cheat. Whether it's via the internet or in person, it's still cheating. Cheating is cheating. Whether it's emotional or physical, it's still cheating. It's adultery. Okay, so I just want to help you kind of get over that hurdle if you need help in that area. If doing it for your kids isn't enough, if doing it for yourself isn't enough because you're hung up on this Bible, on the word because you love the Lord, I want you to know this, okay, about the adultery and narcissism. Now, but I want you to really realize being abused is not okay. And having children and keeping them in abuse is abusive as well. And you have to get them out. The children they're very resilient. Yes, it's true. And before the age of 16, the brain can just grow and change and form new ways and patterns so much easier than after 16. And lots of kids that are in abusive homes, whether they're seeing the mother be abused, they're directly being abused, which is happening, whether you see it or not, it's happening, whether it's verbal or physical, emotional, whatever. If it's happening to you, it's happening to them. And lots of these children grow up to be our abusers. They grow up to be us who get stuck in these abusive relationships. And they grow up to have mental disorders. Okay? If you catch it before they're 16 and you get them help with a psychologist, it can all be reversed. It can all be reversed. One of my children, my youngest, she was starting to develop a mental disorder, and it had been going on since I remember when it started. It was like a switch flipped in her, and she was very, very, very young. And now it's been quite a few years later, and I just thought, something is up with this child. Wow. This is just her. No, she was reacting to her environment and the abuse, and I didn't realize it. They all did in their own way. But this child of mine, she was actually forming a mental disorder. Okay, I believe she was forming ODD, defiant, oh, I forget what it's called, something defiant disorder, and possibly borderline. But they don't diagnose children like that. They can diagnose for ODD, something defiant disorder. I forget what it means right now. But I got her into a trauma center because of an incident that happened at visitation, and so all my children qualified to get free counseling at a trauma center, victims of crime treatment center, and that's where they were diagnosed. And the therapist she got with diagnosed her with not only CPTSD but the ODD, and then we were able to really hone in on how to help her. And she was so responsive. She was stuck in this pattern of behaving that she didn't want. She was stuck in this pattern of feeling that was very defiant. It's a defiant disorder that she hated. She felt awful after she did what she would do. You know, she would flip out and she would be extremely mean and nasty and want to hurt herself and be dangerous to herself and her siblings. And that was a result of the abuse, you guys. That was a result of me keeping my family together to honor the Lord. It was a bunch of toxic, it was a toxic mess. And I was justifying it with the Bible. And it is not okay. You have to get your kids away from the abuse. Even if they have to go with the abuser for visitation until that gets sorted out through the court system, and there's a bunch of stuff that can happen. So don't worry too much. Them being with you and away from their abuser for 2 weeks at a time is so much better than living in the home with the abuser, okay? And I can tell you, it's been a year since my daughter's been in therapy. She was released actually right when shelter in place started, which I didn't like that timing. I felt like we needed our therapist more than ever then, but he said, no, she is released. She is doing better than my adult patients, Jen. She is doing great. He released her from care. We had a bumpy couple weeks while she adjusted to not having her therapist anymore and having self-confidence that she could do this without him. And she feels so proud of herself. She is a different girl. We have the tools, which were much easier than I thought they were going to be. He was amazing. He was amazing. And there is help for you guys too, okay? But I really need you. The point of my message here is for you to understand that when you're suffering emotionally because of abuse, so are your children. That foggy head you have, they live with it too. They live with it. Okay? The confusion you have, they have it too. They've just adapted to it. Or maybe not. They're acting out because they've been in an abusive situation this whole time. Not just because they're a little boy, not just because they're a hormonal girl. It's because of the stressful environment, okay? It's gonna take a toll. And it's so hard to see when you're in it what is happening. You think it's not as bad as it is. You think your children are being protected because you're doing your best more than they really are being protected, okay? And I'm talking to you because I want to help. I want to see the children get healed. I want to see you get healed. I want to see you get separate. I want you to understand the reality of what's happening with your kids, and that abuse hurts kids. They are being set up for a lifetime of repeating the same patterns they've witnessed. They need a dose of truth. They need to know what's going on. Every situation looks different, and how you approach that will be different for every situation. It's extremely important for you all to get in, not your abuser, but you and your children, to start getting in with a psychologist, a therapist, a counselor, and somebody who knows about narcissistic abuse. about borderline personality disorder abuse, about cluster B personality disorder abuse, somebody who knows how to counsel the victims, counsel the children. Okay, there's people out there. I've heard other people in other videos recommend betterhelp.com. I don't contract with them, but it's cool because you can look them up online and you can find one that specializes in this, okay? And then you'll be talking to somebody who knows exactly what you're dealing with. There's also a few other people online, if you search narcissistic videos, that offer counseling too. And they call it more like life coaching because they don't have a master's degree. They may have not even gone to college. Like me, I haven't gone to college. I won't counsel people. To become a therapist, to become a psychologist, you need to have a master's degree. And I'm not there yet. But it can be called life coach. It can be called coaching. And that's okay. And you want one of these people because they have great advice, especially somebody who has kids. Okay? You need help. You need direction. And that is loving you. And that is loving your kids by getting help and getting direction. If you make no change at all and you're not ready to leave or you're not willing to leave, do one thing. Do one thing and get somebody on the phone and talk to them. Okay? I would be happy to recommend some people from YouTube. One person in particular, but I don't want to do it on my video. I would rather email that to you. So if you want a recommendation, a very good recommendation that you could start right now, I have 2 people actually. Please email me at besetfreefromabuse@gmail.com and request that from me, the name of somebody that you can talk to and your kids can talk to over the phone, and I will email it back to you. Okay, so please, if you have any other questions, post them in the comments. I can do more videos about this. This is kind of just a general broad video about this subject. I would be happy to answer more questions. I haven't done a live yet, but if there's enough people interested, I could do a live and we could, you can ask questions on the live. You gotta let me know you want it though. So anyways, I'll leave my email link under the video. Hug your kids, love them, be patient with them, look at them through the eyes of understanding now that they're going through the same emotional abuse that you are and just trying to figure out life. Start doing that, and you protect them, and you do not leave them alone with your abuser. Do not. You find a different way as much as you possibly can. And email me for those names, okay? I'm praying for you, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.